Have you ever stopped to think about how Filipinos are received around the world? In some countries, the reality is quite different from what many imagine, and this can directly impact those who dream of living or working abroad. If you are Filipino or know someone from the community, this video is essential to understand the challenges faced in some places, especially in 2025. In this video, we will explore the 10 countries where Filipinos are not as welcome, or face a hostile and unequal environment. Did you know that, in some of these destinations, it can be harder to get a job, or even be treated unfairly just for being Filipino? What are the factors that contribute to this reality? And what can you do to avoid these problems and protect your rights? If you're thinking about traveling, studying, or working in any of these countries, stay alert. Here, we will present information that could change the way you approach these trips and what to expect when you arrive in these destinations. This video is not just about raising alarms, but also about providing knowledge and solutions. We will show you how to be prepared and how to choose the best paths to avoid negative surprises. You will be surprised by some of this information. Before we continue, don't forget to subscribe to the channel and activate the notification bell. That way, you'll stay updated on more videos that bring essential information for your life. Let's go, keep watching and discover what you need to know to protect yourself in 2025. Now, let's dive into the 10 countries where Filipinos face the most difficulties being welcomed. The situation for foreigners in certain countries is not always the same, but for Filipinos, the challenges can be much greater in some of these places. Throughout this video, you will understand the reasons behind this hostility and the effects it has on those seeking a better life outside the country. Let's get started. Country 1. Saudi Arabia. Saudi Arabia is a popular destination for many Filipinos seeking work, especially in sectors such as healthcare, construction, and domestic services. However, the reality can be challenging. Filipinos are often seen as cheap labor and are frequently treated inhumanely, with labor rights abuses and explicit racism. Additionally, the conservative culture and strict laws can be a significant obstacle for those unfamiliar with the country's norms. Country 2. United Arab Emirates. Although many Filipinos live and work in places like Dubai and Abu Dhabi, the treatment they receive is not always friendly. The local labor laws are often unfavorable to foreigners, especially in domestic work and service sectors. Wage inequality and the lack of effective labor rights increase the pressure on Filipinos trying to build a better life in this country. Country 3. Kuwait. Kuwait is another destination where Filipinos face a complicated reality. Many Filipino workers, especially domestic workers, report cases of abuse, exploitation, and poor working conditions. Additionally, Kuwait has a nationalization policy that prioritizes the employment of Kuwaiti citizens, making it even more difficult for Filipinos to secure a stable position. Country 4. Qatar. Qatar, one of the wealthiest countries in the Persian Gulf, attracts thousands of Filipinos to work in sectors like construction, healthcare, and hospitality. However, discriminatory treatment and poor working conditions, especially in large-scale projects like those for the 2022 World Cup infrastructure, have been widely documented. Filipino workers face long hours, low wages, and lack of basic rights. Country 5. Malaysia. In Malaysia, Filipinos are often stigmatized, especially those who migrate illegally or lack proper documentation. Even those who work legally face discrimination, difficulties in finding formal jobs, and, in some cases, even racism. The situation in the country is complex, and many Filipinos find themselves trapped in a cycle of exploitation and marginalization. Country 6. Singapore. Although Singapore is known for being a clean and organized city, the reality for Filipinos can be harsh. The inequality between citizens and foreign workers is a central issue, and many Filipinos find themselves in difficult working conditions, with little opportunity for advancement and low wages. Strict immigration policies also limit options for those wishing to live and work in the country long term. These are just a few examples of countries where Filipinos are not exactly welcome, or face great difficulties being treated fairly. These challenges can be daunting, but knowing the reality of each place is the first step in ensuring that you make more informed choices for the future. If you're planning an international move, or simply want to understand more about the places where your fellow Filipinos face challenges, stay with us. The next country is another impactful example you need to know. Don't forget to subscribe to the channel and activate the notification bell so you don't miss the next videos about navigating the globalized world of today. Curiosities. Now, let's explore some curiosities and cultural aspects involving these countries, which may help to better understand the reasons behind the hostility that Filipinos face. Sometimes, what seems like just an issue of unequal treatment is deeply rooted in historical, cultural, and economic aspects. Get ready to discover some facts that you might never have imagined. The history of migration and cultural context in many of these countries. Filipino immigration has a long history, especially when it comes to workers in lower skilled or humble positions. This has created a social perception that Filipinos are often invisible or subordinate, a view fueled by decades of labor migration in sectors such as construction, domestic services, and hospitality. This perception has solidified over time, becoming a social barrier that is difficult to overcome. For example, in Singapore, Filipinos, like other foreign workers, are often considered part of an inferior working class, despite playing essential roles in society. While Singaporean citizens enjoy privileges and benefits, migrant workers, including Filipinos, face a life with few opportunities to improve their situation. This division between natives and foreigners is visible in various aspects of daily life, from labor laws to social relations. Economy and unequal opportunities in countries like Qatar and Saudi Arabia. The local economy relies heavily on foreign workers. However, many of these countries prioritize hiring local citizens for higher status and better paying jobs, creating a clear divide between foreign workers and the native class. This is particularly evident in Kuwait, where the nationalization policy of the workforce seeks to ensure that most jobs are filled by Kuwaitis, thereby limiting opportunities for expatriates, including Filipinos. In Malaysia, the history of Filipino migration is marked by tensions regarding national identity. Many Filipinos migrated to Malaysia in the 1970s and 1980s in search of better living conditions, but this growing presence generated some cultural discomfort. The issue of illegality is one of the main obstacles faced by Filipinos in the country, as many enter and remain without the necessary documentation. This context contributes to an even stronger stigma against the Filipino community. Racism and structural discrimination. Racial discrimination is one of the central causes of the hostility that Filipinos face in many of these countries. In places like the United Arab Emirates and Saudi Arabia, the division between natives and foreigners is reflected in how different ethnicities are treated. Unfortunately, Filipino workers often face prejudiced and even abusive attitudes from their employers and colleagues. This is exacerbated by a lack of accessible legal resources for them to defend themselves or change their situation. Moreover, Filipinos face a stigma related to certain types of work. Jobs like domestic worker, cook, or construction worker, which are widely occupied by Filipinos, are often viewed in a derogatory manner in countries with strong social and economic inequality. This perception is reflected in the social and professional treatment given to Filipinos, which in turn affects how they are received and treated when trying to settle in these countries. The struggle for labor rights. Another key point to understand the difficulties faced by Filipinos in these countries is the lack of effective labor protection. In many places, labor laws do not offer the same guarantees for foreign workers as they do for local citizens. The lack of regulation and effective oversight results in abuses, from unpaid wages to inhumane working hours and poor living and food conditions. Conclusion of the curiosities. These curiosities and historical data reveal how the difficulties faced by Filipinos in countries like Japan, South Korea, and Bahrain are influenced by a combination of social, economic, and cultural factors. For those planning to live or work in these nations, it is essential to be aware of all these aspects and how they can affect their experience abroad. But don't worry, in the next segment, we will explore how Filipinos can prepare and what they can do to minimize these challenges and ensure a more positive experience. So, don't miss the next video, and remember to subscribe to the channel and activate the bell to stay updated on everything. Now that you are aware of the difficult realities faced by Filipinos in various countries, let's take a deeper look at how these challenges translate into real barriers in everyday life. Let's understand the impact of these intercultural relations and what they mean for Filipinos seeking a better life abroad. The cultural and psychological impact on the Filipino expatriate in many of these countries. Filipinos not only face discrimination in the job market but also on a social and psychological level. The feeling of not belonging can be devastating. Foreign workers, especially those from countries like the Philippines, often experience isolation, where they are treated as outsiders, meaning someone who will never be fully accepted, no matter how long they stay in the country. This kind of exclusion can affect the mental health of expatriates, leading to stress, anxiety, and even depression. In countries like Qatar and the United Arab Emirates, many Filipinos do not have the opportunity to build a solid support network. The local culture, which is strongly conservative, can make it difficult for foreigners to integrate, making the adaptation process even harder. Even when Filipinos try to get involved in the local community, they often encounter language, cultural, and social barriers that reinforce the distance between them and the local population. Moreover, the lack of recognition of professional qualifications or even work skills can result in a constant feeling of frustration and powerlessness. Oftentimes, Filipino workers occupy lower-level positions even though they have the education or experience that qualifies them for higher roles. This kind of devaluation is common in places like Saudi Arabia and Malaysia, where foreigners are often seen as disposable, subjected to difficult working conditions and low wages. Lack of rights and legal protection. Another crucial factor that exacerbates the discomfort of Filipinos in countries like Singapore and South Korea is the lack of effective legal protection. In many of these countries, labor laws are not designed to protect foreign workers in the same way they protect local citizens. Many Filipinos end up at the mercy of their employers, with no guarantees of fair wages, proper working conditions, or even basic rights such as the ability to change employers if conditions become untenable. In Kuwait, for example, labor laws can be extremely difficult for foreigners to navigate. Many Filipinos face the kafala system, a system that ties the worker to a specific employer, making it difficult to change jobs and exposing them to abuse. The lack of an accessible justice system and effective measures to address worker abuse contributes to this vulnerability. Structural racism and social segregation. Racial discrimination also plays a central role in the challenges faced by Filipinos in these countries. Countries like Japan and South Korea have homogeneous histories and cultures, where the presence of foreigners, especially workers from countries with different cultures and ethnicities, is met with resistance. Institutionalized racism and social segregation can make integration even harder, making the experience of living and working in these countries even more challenging. For example, in Japan, despite being a popular destination for Filipino workers in fields such as healthcare and entertainment, many still face discriminatory and stigmatized attitudes. This includes everything from a lack of professional opportunities to social marginalization, where Filipinos are often seen as permanent outsiders, even after many years in the country. Specific challenges in lesser-known countries. While Saudi Arabia and the United Arab Emirates are the most notorious destinations for Filipino workers, there are countries with less visible but equally difficult challenges. Oman, for example, is a country where living conditions for Filipino workers can be particularly challenging, with little assistance or support from their local embassies and an extremely hierarchical work culture. Similarly, Bahrain and South Korea have histories of foreign worker abuse, where poor working conditions and a lack of proper rights make life difficult for many Filipinos. Statistics on abuses, such as unpaid wages or poor housing conditions, are often ignored or minimized, leaving workers in a vulnerable position. What to do to overcome these challenges despite the obvious difficulties? Filipinos have a resilient spirit and a strong global community that supports one another. For those planning to go to these countries, it is essential to be informed and prepared. Knowing your rights, seeking support networks, and trying to integrate gradually can help ease the experience and ensure a more successful journey. Moreover, there is a growing movement to improve the conditions of migrant workers, and many Filipinos are making a difference by fighting for better rights and conditions abroad. If you are preparing to work or live in one of these countries, this video was just the beginning of essential knowledge to ensure a more positive experience. Don't forget to subscribe to the channel, activate the notification bell, and share this video with those who need to be aware of these realities. Let's continue this conversation and prepare for the future. Now that we have explored the 10 countries where Filipinos face significant challenges, it is clear that the path to living or working abroad is not always easy. However, it is crucial to understand that knowledge is the key to navigating these difficulties strategically and consciously. Although Filipinos face precarious working conditions, discrimination, and social exclusion in many of these destinations, there are also stories of resistance and overcoming. Many Filipino workers have shown resilience, creating support communities, seeking education, and, most importantly, fighting inequalities through collective actions and awareness campaigns. In many of these countries, like Saudi Arabia and the United Arab Emirates, the scenario is beginning to change. International organizations and human rights groups have pressured these governments to improve the living and working conditions of foreigners, including Filipinos. There is a growing movement to secure better labor rights, and more Filipinos are coming together to demand fair treatment and dignity at work. The power of knowledge and preparation is key to ensuring that the experience abroad is as successful as possible. Knowing labor laws, cultural practices, and the realities of the destination country can make all the difference. When you are well informed, you can make wiser decisions, protect your rights, and avoid falling into situations of exploitation. For Filipinos planning to travel to these countries, the most important tip is to seek support from local networks and worker organizations. Many embassies and consulates offer legal support and vital information to ensure that your rights are respected. In addition, it is essential to never accept inhumane or abusive working conditions. Whenever possible, look for alternatives and fight for fairer conditions. The importance of sharing information. This video has not only brought to light the challenges faced by Filipinos, but also highlighted the importance of sharing this information to help others prepare better. With the right knowledge, it is possible to avoid many of the problems that arise when people are misinformed about the place where they will live or work. Therefore, if you know someone planning to travel to any of these countries, share this video. It could be the key for that person to make more informed decisions, avoiding frustration, abuse, and exploitation situations. The journey to change the global landscape. Every Filipino who ventures to these countries is not only seeking a better life, but also helping to build a path for real change. By spreading knowledge and awareness about the challenges faced by these workers, we can create a wave of transformation that improves conditions for all expatriates, not just Filipinos. Now that you have a clearer view of what to expect, it's time to act. If you are preparing to work or live in one of these countries, or know someone who is, remember that preparation is essential to ensure a safer and more successful experience. And, above all, never underestimate the power of sharing information and supporting one another. Call to action. Be part of the change. If you found this video helpful and believe this information can help others, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to our channel. This way, you help us continue creating relevant and informative content that can make a difference in many people's lives. Activate the bell so you won't miss any updates on the upcoming videos, with more tips and information on how to live and work abroad consciously and safely. Follow us for more content that impacts your life and help us grow our community. Together, we can do more to make the world a better place for everyone. See you in the next video.